own glorious body, according to the mighty working whereby he is able to subdue all things unto himself. Would all like to turn to your funeral cards and read the final prayer with me. I heard a voice from heaven saying unto me, Write, from henceforth blessed are the dead who die in the Lord. Even so saith the Spirit, for they rest from their labors.
Thank you all so much for coming. Just as a reminder, photography is permitted within the cemetery, but filming is not. At least I believe those are the strictures that I have been told, and Colleen will correct me if I'm wrong. I'd also like to introduce to you Colleen Iverson, who is one of the guardians of the New York City Marble Cemetery, and who will be giving you a brief introduction to this amazing and wonderful, wonderful treasure that still is here for many years.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, welcome to the New York City Marble Cemetery, one of only 2 remaining non-sectarian cemeteries in New York, in Manhattan. The cemetery dates back to 1831. It was farmland. The Minthorn farm, purchased from the Minthorn family upon the death of Philip Minthorn. And the city limits went to Grand Street, so this was countryside to the north of Grand Street. By the time Seabury Treadwell was interred here, it was already more than 30 years old. Everywhere you walk, you are walking on underground marble vaults. There are 258, each purchased in the 1830s by a family. The descendants of that family still own the vaults. Very few have changed hands. Some are empty. Some have over 40 people's remains in them. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. After a certain amount of time, there's always room for more, provided there was no metal coffin. You will go into the vault in a thin, traditional wooden coffin. The modern coffins are too wide for the vault doors. Access is gained. A team of grave diggers digging by hand, no machinery because it's all hollow, in between the grave marker stones, and please, if you could not walk on the grave marker stones, they're also about 180 years old, you dig down about 18 inches and you come to the roof, a stone slab which is the roof of a connecting passageway. You winch that up, put that to one side, the ladder down, and you have a small passageway connecting 2 vaults. Keep your fingers crossed that the person who last was in there didn't lock it on the way out, because very few families now have their keys. There are some families that have the key that their family was given in 1831. Not many. You can touch 2 vault doors. Recent interments, we've buried, I think since 2000, we've buried 5 people. We are the only other, apart from Trinity Uptown and Broadway and 155th, we are the only active cemetery in Manhattan. It is not legal and has not been legal since the 1820s to have an earthen 6 foot under burial within the city limits. They were trying to prevent the epidemics of yellow fever, typhoid, etc. They were completely on the wrong track in thinking that it was the miasmas, noxious vapors from the dead. that were causing these epidemics. And if they paid more attention to their water supply, they'd have been a whole lot healthier. However, this cemetery and the neighboring, not connected but very similar cemetery across 2nd Street, which we actually passed, but it's on the inside of the block, so you do not see it. The New York Marble Cemetery, this is the New York City Marble Cemetery. We are composed of underground marble chambers. They are about 8 feet by 10 feet. They are made of marble, which is no better, realistically, no better than any other stone, which was sold as being the best for keeping moisture out, keeping miasmas in. The marble salesman, perhaps. It was in the days of convict marble when Sing Sing had just, the jail had been just transferred up to Ossining, and they didn't want to feed, they didn't want to pay to feed the prisoners, so they put them to work in the newly opened Tuckahoe and surrounding marble quarries. One of our early presidents was one of the people who was instrumental in both the prison move and connected with the quarries. So we, since we lost our records, do not know if we have convict marble, but we do know that it was a very controversial thing, and the stonemasons rioted in 1834 when the first building of NYU was built with convict marble. So we don't know that. Our records were burned in 1843, so we have a lot of our early history we do not know. And if you feel you have family here, please go to our website, nycmc.org, and check out, there's a full listing of known interments, there's a full listing of original vault owners. You can check and see if any of your ancestors are here. And if they are, and you think someone's missing in the early 1830s or 1840s, please get in contact. We'd be happy to hear from you. Although he was only here briefly, it was probably a very prestigious burial place for Seabury Treadwell. He did not own a vault here. He was connected to 2 vaults. Most of the vaults were purchased in the 1830s, early 1830s. There were a few purchased a little later, mostly in the 1830s. The inaugural, they were very popular and sold well. The inaugural event of the cemetery was its most famous, its biggest event, which was the funeral of President James Monroe. Now, he was buried here in 1831. He was one of those presidents who died on July 4th. He was not a New Yorker, he was a Virginian, and Virginia 28 years later would claim him in sort of pre-Civil War politics. They wanted his remains back. But he was buried here, and his funeral procession lined 2nd Avenue. The front of it came in the gate of the cemetery, and the back of it, going down Broadway, had not yet left City Hall. And considering that this was countryside to the north, even though the roads were laid out, there was very little building. There was some construction on 2nd Avenue. There was very little built on the laid out roads. 2nd Street, I'm sure, has seen nothing like it ever since. Seabury Treadwell himself, as I say, did not own a vault. He was connected. His extended family had 2 vaults here. He, for several months until he was transferred to his family cemetery in Long Island, he was buried in the Samuel Tissam vault, the grave marker of which you can see on the other side of the coffin. However, there is a Treadwell vault in this cemetery, which is other side of this tree. It has a small dark monument, and that I'm not sure if that's what now I'm not going to read the formal tour. There are flyers by the gate. I do apologize for our railings being part gray and part black. They're also 180 years old, and they're undergoing a restoration at the moment. They're half black at the moment. They will be all black by next week. We are a haven for the squirrels have taken refuge. I'm afraid you're not very popular with squirrels, but the pigeons and the squirrels are very happy we're here. I will be happy to answer any questions. There's a mailing list if you'd like to sign up for events that we have here. Please feel free to stroll around. I won't be closing the gates for at least a half an hour after we finish.
Thank you.
And if there's anyone who feels inspired